Hi everyone, it's TTL back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking our first look at the ROG Zenith Extreme Alpha. If you are interested, the Rampage Extreme Omega will be going up on the channel within the next couple of days as well. Depending on when you're listening to it or watching this, you may actually be able to go and see it straight away. So head to the channel, or I'll try and put a click link underneath as well. Now, I've had this for a little while, but we're just waiting on a few BIOS things to get sorted out, and then I will be doing my full batch of tests. But in the meantime, I thought you might like a quick up-close look at the Extreme Alpha. Now, the whole point of the Extreme Alpha, in reality, is to add an unbelievable amount of VRMs on the top of the board to be able to cope with overclocks, manual overclocks, fixed overclocks on things like the 2990WX and the 2970WX, or for those of you out there that just want like the ultimate board to put any of your Threadripper CPUs in. And we will cover that, but because it is such an expensive board, what we are going to do is have a look at what does come inside the box. Now, I know some of you hate the inside the box things, but a lot of people actually want to know because it's a fairly big part of their buying process. Now, you do get some stickers. Again, you've got stickers that you can mark cables with, and these go on your fans. And there's loads of other ones around for you to be able to put around or on your battle station, depending on your preferences. Now, in this little section here, you get all of your little screws for the M.2s. You get your little I/O adapter, and this is where you can put, if you want, all of the cables for your front panel headers and stuff like that. So your power, your reset, your HD LED and all that sort of stuff. You clip on those easily and it just goes on the board in one piece. And then, like I said, you get your M.2 screws and all the spare screws for the heat sinks and stuff. In this, there is a, this is basically your driver CD. And I'm so glad they started to put them on USB now. So all of your drivers are on there, but just keep in mind, people, they are the launch drivers, and it's worth, if you've had the board a while and you're doing a reinstall, or you're buying this board a little bit after launch, go onto the ROG website and download the latest drivers, because it can make a big difference to your performance. Now, I've already been in unboxed all of these to take pictures, but this is your M.2 card, and you'll see on the board in a minute it's got a DIMM.2 slot. This time around, the heat sinks on them are black, and I much prefer it in black. It used to be gunmetal grey, or on the last gen it was gunmetal grey, but these black ones, oh, they do look really nice. There's thermal pads in there as well. You can get an M.2 on one side and then an M.2 on the other side. It's slightly further up because they're kind of staggered. One's at the bottom, one's at the top. But that's all good in there. On this side, this is where you use the manual is, and all your ROG stuff saying, you know, join the Republic and all of that sort of stuff. There is a Wi-Fi and a Bluetooth dongle. Now, I've been saying this every time I've seen one of these, but it's really nice that it does all go together well and all of that sort of stuff. But, I can never, oh, it's that way around. But it's not magnetic, it didn't come with any stickers or anything. I've said it every time, and I do feel like it should have a magnetic base on it, and then you would also have the ability to put a sticker on it or something, so that it's not just rested on your rig. And you do have to place it through, and place it that way through, and force all the cables through. So it's not that it's a faff, because putting it together is not a problem, but it's just the fact that, let's face it, a lot of cases are steel, so it would have been nice to have been able to put it up on the tower, or maybe even poking out the back. And then, like I said, maybe a sticky pad for those of you out there that have maybe got a tempered glass roof or an aluminium case. And I think it's those little details on a high-end board like this which would make it stand out from some of the lower-end ones. Now, it does come with an awful lot of cables, and when I say an awful lot, I do mean an awful lot. So you get an extension cable for RGB addressable, so addressable RGB, ARGB, whatever you want to call it, and that's the 3-pin one, so you get an extension cable for that, and then there is an extension cable for the normal 4-pin RGB as well. You do get 2 braided SATA cables. Now you can see the braid on this. It's a nice soft braid. They're just normal black. You get one straight on end and then one 90-degree end, and then it's just like the normal SATA cables that you would get. It's both straight on one end, and you get an either on the other one. But then there are a load more normal SATA cables as well. So there are 6 other SATA cables in total. 3 of them have got 90 degrees, 3 of them are straight. Do you know what I mean? They come in pairs. And then you also get 1, 2, 3 thermal probes that you can attach anywhere on your board as well. These can be handy, but they obviously also add a lot of mess. So try and keep things tidy, makes your rig look that little bit nice. And then this is your ROG node extension cable. But there is also this. Now, this is the fan extension card. Now, and it's a node card, so you do need to use the node cable as well. But the connector that they've used actually goes into PCIe. Now, admittedly, you're probably going to want this around the back of your case or hidden somewhere nice. But these cables, I mean, come on, Asus, do you know what I mean? Condiment cables, you've gone to that much effort with all those black ones. This is just lazy. So either have it on, like, I don't know, flat black and then SATA, or if you need that much power, then at least you could, let's face facts, that could have been dark grey, for example, and the engineers would have still known that they needed to have gone in the top. Now, I know with a power supply, if the cables are yellow, it does mean 12 volt, but still, yeah. Anyway, so you can attach a load of cables around the outside. So this external fan, let's have a look. That's 1, 2, 3, and then 6, 5, 6. So that's 4. And then you also get a normal RGB header there, there, and there. And then you also get the thermal probes that you can add in as well. So you can add a lot of stuff on it. And it is quite cool that you can screw it into a normal SATA drive placement as well, which would be kind of handy for placement. But like I said, I think this cable just lets it down a bit. It wouldn't be that hard to mod it, but still I think Asus could have done a better job with it out of the box. And then the only other thing that you get is a ROG SLI bridge, but you can see it's a HB bridge, so it's a high bandwidth bridge. And then you get their dual, I can't remember the wording they use for it, but it's basically dual use, I think they say. It does have the ROG logo on the screwdriver, but then you can turn it round and you instantly think it's an Allen key, okay, because it's just a hexagon. And it made me think that it was an Allen key, and then I was like, I can't see any Allen keys on the board. And then I thought, oh, it's where you screw into the, to crank down the CPU cover plate, and it's not. They say it's an Allen key so that you can release the memory slots at the top and maybe the PCI Express slots. And I was like, okay, so I wouldn't have been able to have done it with the Phillips end of the screwdriver. I don't know. It's one of the most weirdest kind of like the whole dual action thing. I think it's a bit meh. Okay, so our first look at the board, and I know a lot of you are instantly going to be wanting to know about the heatsink at the top, because that is obviously the primary massive difference between this and the old Zenith. Well, essentially, I'm not going to pop the heatsink off for us to have a proper look in this review until I've finished all of my testing, because obviously I've still got work to do, so I don't want to be disturbing anything. But there are 16 phases at the top. Now, a lot of people are instantly then going to start saying that there's obviously 8 with doublers, but they've gone about things slightly differently with the Alpha, and they've done it in this way to actually reduce the possibility or reduce the possible latency involved. So the they are doubled up, but in a very different way. There isn't a separate doubler chip. The MOSFETs, which there are 2 per PWM, and what they've actually done is hardwired them in so that they don't have the latency delay from the actual doubler itself. So you have 2 power stages per PWM, which is quite different. It's certainly a new way, but they say this should help with response times, because obviously with the newer processors, the difference when they can turbo and the load can go off so quickly that they've actually done it this way to stop or reduce possible like lockup points. Also, these fans in the top, they don't kick in until 60 degrees. One thing I will say is that's a 2990WX. I've had it running at 4 gigahertz, manually overclocked, and I've not seen those fans run yet. But you can actually go into the BIOS or into the AI Suite software, and you can manually set when you want those fans to come on, if at all anyway. But they are not getting exceptionally hot with my testing at the moment, and it's actually got to the point where I want to punish them a little bit more. So that is the like the bulk of things around the top, but we'll go all the way around so that we can have a good look, so that we can see all the ins and outs. And this, don't forget, is just a preview, and I will talk to you about proper performance in the main review, but you can go to the Overclocked 3D website to see everything else. So in the top right hand corner, and if I put the camera down a little bit more, you can see the two 8-pins. But you also have an addressable and a normal 4-pin RGB just up here, which is ever so slightly out of focus because obviously it's the camera's focusing on this. You've got your two CPU headers. Then when we go slightly further down, you can see the start and the reset buttons. And then you can also see the 24-pin, but you can also see manual voltage points down the side of the 24-pin there for those of you overclocking, or anyone that actually wants to manually double check any possible voltages on multiple points on the board with any normal multimeter. Just below that, there's another fan header and another another temperature probe header there, and you've also got a external USB 3.1 header, which is becoming a lot more common in new cases. Then there's the normal USB 3 and 8 SATA connectors down the side for those of you still running mechanicals, but obviously you can use those for the normal SATA drives as well, so SATA solid state drives. This area of the board is one of the parts where I actually love the extra clarity with the new camera, because you can see all of the switches there. So you've got the safe boot switch, you've got the BIOS switch, because it's got two BIOSes on it. Safe boot is obviously, you can save those settings in the BIOS so that if you hit the safe boot, it might only boot your processor up at 3.2 or 3.4 gigahertz. You can choose all of that. You've got the retry button, you've got the water pump header down the bottom, you've also got the water flow header, and they are temperature headers as well, so that you can plug that in for those of you that are running water cooling. So you've got loads of options there. Then you've also still got the slow mode down the bottom there. This here is your LN2 header. You can switch between that. If you do switch into LN2 mode, it will unlock a 200% power mode in the BIOS. Now, if you go to DigiVRM and then you go in, it will normally stop at 140%. That is with LN2 mode on, and with LN2 mode on, that does then open up, like I said, the 200% power mode. But though that's definitely going to be for someone out there that really knows what they're doing, and you've got a lot more experience with cooling and all of that sort of stuff. But don't forget what it will do. It allows the CPU to draw up to 200%. Doesn't just fire it all in at once. You've got the node header there. I showed you the external fan card for that. You've got another USB 3 header there. You've got two USB 2 headers here. Now that is brilliant, because everyone knows that you can get USB connections for your AIO, you can get USB connections for your power supply, and or at least I found myself using adapters a lot, so that you end up with a USB hub. But with at least two, it makes life a little bit easier. You've got another fan header there. You've also got another RGB and another addressable. You can move along a little bit more. This is for, it's the normal Molex header, and that's for if you were to be running multiple graphics cards. But you could run two 2080 Ti's on this at maxi chat and it's never going to need that. This is literally something just for overclockers, so don't plug it in thinking that you need to. You're just going to end up creating extra mess in your rig. There is another fan header just up the side here, but you can see the Supreme FX Japanese capacitors for the audio down the side. Now this section here, so you can pop that off, and then that does expose a M.2 port down here. There is a thermal pad on there as well, but don't forget, I know people are now flapping that there is only one there, but this, which clips in at the side of the motherboard up here, can hold another 2. So that is 3 in total on the board that you can have. And that one, I suppose it's going to depend on your thoughts, but that one's got massive heat sinks on it as well. Obviously can hold another 2, but you know, for those aesthetic freaks out there, the only thing that I would say is you're never going to get memory that's going to kind of match it. But it's really going to be down to you. You can obviously get quite big M.2 drives, and it's really going to depend on how your setup's going to be going, but it does give you a lot more options. Then you've also, as you go further up, you can see that you've got the I/O shield at the side. There is some lighting on that. There's also an OLED panel which comes up, but you can set that to do your own personal graphics. You can even do them animated if you wanted, but you can also have it to show you CPU temperatures. I've not yet to see whether they're doing GPU temperatures, but obviously your CPU temperatures at the moment, they're not actually coming from the CPU, it's a socket. It's something that Asus still need to sort, and I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's getting silly now. When we do get round the back though, you can see that you have the BIOS flashback switch, which is brilliant. And to be honest with you, once you know what your BIOS flashback file should be called, you can do that so easily at home. For argument's sake, this one would be let me have a look at I'm just trying to work out, it would be ZEA, I think it would be called. And essentially what you do is you pop your USB stick with your BIOS file called ZEA, I think it's ZEA, into this header here, and then you literally just press and hold the BIOS switch, the flashback switch, and you'll see it. And if it starts to flash faster, then it's working. If it goes solid, you've got the name on it wrong. But it's actually once you've done it and you've got used to it, it's actually quite easy to do. But you've got a lot of connections around the back. You've obviously got some USB 3.1 Gen 2 in there. You've got normal USB 3 going on. But the most important thing that I'd like to draw attention to more than anything else is you do get a normal gigabit here, but this is a 10 gigabit header. And just don't forget that if you connect that then and your modem at home is only gigabit, you're only then going to get gigabit. This is basically for people with a faster internal home network. So if you wanted to be able to run 10 gigabit speeds, you're going to need good cables for it. You're probably going to need Cat 6 as a minimum. I personally run Cat 7 at home, and then you're also going to need a switch and stuff. So if you're going to run it through a switch, for example, the switch is going to need to be 10 GBE, and then whatever else you connect it to is going to need to be 10 GBE as well. So this is just the start of a big networking thing, but it's not going to magically make your downloads any faster. And I know that's complicated for some people, but it is a proper pro internal networking sort of thing. But once you do get into it, it's amazing. Obviously you've got a Type-C port here, you've got Wi-Fi up here. The audio further down are gold-plated connectors, and these actually light up as well, so that if you were messing around behind your rig and it's late, you can actually see the colours of them, because where they are gold, it means that you need that little bit of light to be able to tell the difference from what they are. And I know you can read what the writing says, but it does just help having that colour, again, like I said, late at night. And when I do talk about late at night, it does have lighting on it. So you've got the lighting up by the Zenith, which I've already said about, but it's also down on the chipset area, and that also does give you an idea where the line is just down the side of that plate that I told you comes off. You've got the ROG Eye there, and it's also down the side of the board. Now you can obviously turn these off if you want. You can set your own custom animations up. You can set them to specific manual colours. I've just fired my special cable in to be able to put them up in its kind of its show off mode. It's a demo mode basically, just so that I can show you where the lighting was and where it is, but you get the idea with it. Now, like I said, I have been working on this for a little bit, and we're just sorting a few BIOS things out because I am pushing the boundaries with the 2990WX and my expectations are fairly high. But what this does mean is it means I'm kind of helping to accelerate any possible bugs that have been on the board. So I know it is available retail, but I'm trying to help get these BIOS things pushed out. As I've been picking up issues, I've been giving them a lot of grief about it, and I'm trying to get things done as quickly as possible. Don't forget that the Rampage version of this video is probably going to be going live at the same time, if not within a day or two of this one going live. And I will be back with the main reviews as quickly as I possibly can be. But like I said, we're just, I'm trying to make sure everything is nailed down, and we are doing an awful lot of testing on this. And you can bet your bottom dollar, like I said, we've got a 2990WX in this. I am punishing it as much as I possibly can do Threadripper wise as well. But this has just been a quick look for us to have a look at the board. It is just a preview. Don't forget you can go to the Overclocked 3D website if you'd like to see more of the official slides that we got from Asus about the board, more information, pictures. And don't forget, if this one is one of the first videos of mine that you've seen, you can click the subscribe button as well. And I would love to hear your feedback underneath. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I know my videos can go on a little bit and I do talk a little bit too much. But that's because when it's with products that are worth this kind of money, I think that you're probably going to be putting a fair bit of research in if you're thinking about it. And also, if you're an enthusiast, you're probably going to want longer than a 3-minute video about something like this. But for now, at least, this has been the tiniest one out.